Welcome to UK Business Show, UK's premier business show where we feature business thought leaders, high achievers, and industry experts. Today's episode is brought to you by World Outsourcing Solutions Limited, a company that specializes in helping executive business owners with virtual assistant services and business growth systems. Here's your host, Yukai Kechidori.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining me once again on this very special episode. You know, I often say special episode, but truly today is really special because we're going to be talking about something that I truly believe in, without doubt. And it is, if you have your mindset right, everything else falls into place. And with me today is Dr. Cavanaugh, who is an exceptional trainer who's been helping people for several decades now. In fact, Jay made his first online sale in 2006. It's been helping people ever since. In fact, perhaps later on, Jay will be telling us how he did that. But listen, we want you to get your mindset right so your life will shape up the way you want. Jay, once again, thank you so much for joining us here on the show today.
Yeah, thanks so much, you guys. I'm super excited to be here, and we're going to offer value right out of the gate. So
tell me.
Let's go for it.
Tell me, what is the number one mindset trick that is working right now?
So the number one thing, if you said, hey, from a mindset standpoint, what's the number one trick that I could have to improve my mindset, get me the results I want, cause a shift in my life? Number one thing is what we call self-awareness or being the observer. So the way that I like to kind of imagine this, because people like visuals, and I feel like at least I myself tend to learn a little better when I have a visual, is imagine you, but with another version of you about maybe a foot behind you and a foot above, who is just simply observing. So this other version of yourself observes free of judgment, free of contempt. It's only curious. So this curious version of yourself is your best friend. Your dog and it might be your best friend. So maybe this is the second best friend, but this is a very powerful exercise where you have this observer, this self-awareness muscle you're flexing. And the goal of it is to be aware of where you're placing your focus, energy, attention, your thoughts, your emotions, and your actions. And so when you have this observer, all this observer is you within yourself being aware in the moment of where you're at. Because what holds us back most of the time is we get caught up in things. We don't even realize what we're doing. We're not aware of what we're doing. So self-awareness is being aware of ourselves at any given moment. And so what this would look like, just to give you a little more clarity, is let's say I'm on a business call and I'm looking to close a sale.
Right. Self-awareness
would come in where I start to be aware that I'm talking too much and I'm starting to talk too fast because I'm kind of nervous and I'm catching it right now because see how I'm talking, it's a little too quick and you're probably not going to buy. So I catch myself as I'm like at the very beginning of it and I say, all right, take a breath, and all right, so, and it's being a little bit more present and it's just being aware of your emotions and being able to manage them. Because if you are not aware of your thoughts, feelings, and actions, then you're just running in a hamster wheel. You're basically just on autopilot, right? And so would you rather be an autopilot or would you rather be driving the plane or driving the car? And so the way to drive and to be in that power position is to be aware, because once you're aware, you can make shifts and adjustments in real time.
Incredible. For those who are looking to do that, what will be the very first step they ought to take? Because it's totally new.
Yeah, I mean, it's like working out, right? That's why I like to always use the analogy of it's flexing a muscle. Yeah. And so just like anything in life, the best way to get good at it is to do it frequently. It's all about repetitions, right? Like Michael Jordan, how did he get good? He just took a lot of shots, and a lot of shots went well and a lot of shots didn't. But over time, if you keep doing something, it becomes a little more comfortable, familiar, certain, becomes a little bit more habitual. And so the way to start it would be, let's say, for example, at the end of this recording, which of course you have to listen to all the way to the end, but when it's over, you all of a sudden might say to yourself, oh, you know what? I'm going to flex my self-awareness muscle. All right. So what that would look like is you might say, okay, today, for the remainder of the day, I'm just going to focus gentle. I like to use the word gentle focus, that phrase, like a gentle focus. So you're not forcing this. It's a gentle focus on where am I placing my energy and attention, right? That's it. Because think about it. Each and every day, you only have so much time and you only have so much energy. So it's a limited resource. So imagine you have 5 gallons of gas, right? Where are you going to pour that fuel, that energy, that gas each and every day? Because if you start to manage that, then what you do is you actually really start to become really amazing at time management. And you say, wait, I spent 2 gallons of gas on thinking about something that went wrong yesterday. Now I've only got 3 left. Was that the best use of my time? And the self-aware person would say, no, it's not. And they might catch that and shift maybe after a half gallon, maybe after a gallon, or even after 2, they know they've got 3 left. And they're like, wait a minute, I made some mistakes in where I placed my focus. Let's make a shift. Where should that shift be? And then you correct and your outcomes improve.
Absolutely love that. I can't wait to explore the other 3 secrets we have in place here for everybody. But for those who have never come across your training or what you're about, I truly would love you to introduce yourself very briefly, what you've been up to, and particularly some of the great athletes you've helped achieve tremendous results as of today.
Sure. So officially, I'm a optometrist by trade. So that's where the doctorate comes from. But what I do now, I closed my practice during the pandemic, and I went all in on high performance mindset coaching for professional athletes. We started off with some motorsports athletes, supercross, motocross, Formula Drift, flat track. I have a history of racing myself, and I just used some of my connections and some of the 1 degrees of separation I had to get my foot in the door. Started working with a couple professional athletes, had some success in a tight niche or a tight small market. Word travels fast. People say, wait a minute, so-and-so used to not do so well, and now all of a sudden they're doing really well. What's changed? And then all of a sudden it's like, hi, I've helped. And so once you get that recognition and you actually execute on delivering, offering those deliverables, it's really easy to get some momentum from there. And so that's kind of what kickstarted things off. And then I realized with the Vibe mindset and with some of the other businesses I've created that I wanted to bring some of that success and some of that mindset philosophy and tactics, tricks, techniques to the general public. And not just the general public, but I have a little bit of an affiliation and an admiration for entrepreneurs. So I've really enjoyed helping entrepreneurs get their mindset right, because I'll tell you, imposter syndrome, not feeling like you're good enough, there's a lot of things that hold people back. And what I see with entrepreneurs is a lot of times the mindset is where the biggest opportunity is to move the sales needle, get more leads, and even get a more clear offer. A lot of times we get caught up in our own minds and we get clouded and we don't have that clarity we need to develop our businesses in the way that will bring in more customers and more revenue.
Indeed, that brings me so naturally to the first secret, which you and I were talking about, that is breaking away from the habit of being yourself. This is one of the things you talk about a lot. Help us understand what you mean by that.
So it's such an amazing concept. I absolutely love it. So I'm glad that we're talking about it. Is when you think about it, you want to maintain alignment with who you believe you are, your identity, your sense of self, your beliefs, your values, right? Even sometimes your narratives. We hold these things so dear to us, right? And so a lot of times, if the trajectory of our business, of our life, of our relationships, our wealth is going in the wrong direction, that ship has got momentum. It's almost like a snowball or an avalanche sometimes, because, we want to stay in alignment. Even if you think you want to change and you want to grow and you want things to be different, that want is kind of like a blip. It's like, oh, geez, I want to make more money. And then the second that thought's gone, it's gone, and you're back to remaining in alignment with who you are. And so the way that the mind is designed, and even the body, is to maintain alignment, to stay in a certain pattern of thoughts, feelings, actions, beliefs, narratives. And so in order for us to create true, lasting, transformational change, we've really got to look at the habits of who we are, because that's what you're doing. You're breaking the habits of thoughts, right? So for example, if I think that my business idea isn't the best, well, I've got to break free from that thought, because that right now is holding me back. Am I going to go out and reach out to someone to do business with them if I don't think my business is ready? No. So that thought process will keep maintaining itself until you put a break in that cycle, right? And so you have to break the thought. And that's where self-awareness ties in. Now, all of a sudden, you have to be aware of the thought and look at it and say, oh, interesting. I have a thought that I think is holding me back. Or, oh, hey, look, this feeling I have of doubt and insecurity, or maybe more so fear or imposter syndrome, that's probably why I'm not reaching out to podcasts. That's probably why I haven't finished my book yet. That's probably why I don't like getting on sales calls, even though all these things are going to move the needle for my business. So you always want to think about the habitual patterns you have. First, start by identifying them. Think of that structure: thoughts, feelings, actions. That's one way. And just break it down. What thoughts serve me? Which ones don't? Which feelings serve me? Which ones don't? And then you just start placing your focus, energy, and attention on managing those things in a repetition. And you want to make sure that you break the habit, but breaking the habit isn't enough. Now you have to create the habit of being this other version of yourself.
Absolutely.
And this is where people get stuck. That takes time, energy, and effort.
Indeed, absolutely. I remember when I had my first experience of this aspect we're talking about. I went to a Tony Robbins event in 2012, I think it was, and we did this exercise where you really had to look at your own beliefs and think about it. Is this belief serving me, or is not serving me? It was my first time experience. And then, of course, I keep doing it every single time. For those who wants to do this, where can they start from in your experience?
As far as breaking the habit of being yourself, I mean, it depends on how quick you want the results to be. So one simple way to get started would be start to write down your narratives. So a narrative is a story you tell yourself. And so the stories you tell yourself might be something like, oh, geez, I'm not really a YouTuber. I don't think I could speak in front of a camera with lights behind me and in front of me blinding me. You can start there. I mean, I'm in a YouTube studio right now where I make my YouTube videos. I've got 2 bright lights here. I got 2 behind me. I wasn't born a YouTuber. I was never granted the gift of being called a YouTuber. I just one day changed my narrative. And I said, instead of my story being, oh, I'm not really a YouTuber, I'm not really made for camera, it's not really my thing, I changed the story to, I'm becoming a YouTuber. That was it. Now, when you say I'm becoming a YouTuber, that is a statement of identity. I am statements are statements of identity. Very powerful. They sound like simple words, but trust me, words have power. If you've ever said anything, incorrectly to your wife or spouse, you probably realize the truth behind the fact that words have power. Yeah. And so once you shift your narrative, your narrative is what guides some of your thoughts, feelings, and actions. So now all of a sudden I said, no, I am a YouTuber. And every time I caught myself saying, oh yeah, I'm not really a YouTuber, once again, the observer coming in, oh wait, hey, do you hear that narrative? No, that's not the narrative we want. Oh yeah, you're right. Now I caught myself and I would actually rewind and I would say, strike that from the record. That was kind of like a little thing I would do for fun, just because you gotta have fun with this too. And I said, all right, strike that comment from the record. I am a YouTuber. But then I said, if you're a YouTuber, let's create the evidence to support that statement. Okay, you want me to create the evidence? Fine, I'll do it. I'm gonna buy a microphone. Okay, buy a microphone. I'm gonna buy some lights. Okay, that doesn't make you a YouTuber. Okay, fine. I'm going to watch YouTube videos with people that I like, and I'm going to write notes down. And then when I watch a YouTube video where someone is not really captivating or impressing me, I'm also going to thank them and be grateful for them because they're teaching me what not to do.
Indeed.
So I'm winning either way, no matter what video I'm watching. And so I just started creating a list. And before you know it, it creeps up on you and you're like, wait a minute. I know how to make the intro to my video. I know how to edit the video. I've got the lights for the video. Maybe I should do a video. And then the video ends up on YouTube. And then someone's like, oh, you're a YouTuber? Oh, geez. How did this happen? and how did it happen? Well, it started with an intention, which is I am a YouTuber. It started with taking actions that are in alignment with that narrative and that story and that identity. And then it just happens. Like, that's how it happens. I just focused energy and attention on it. Here I am. And you can do that with anything. You know,
Absolutely.
if you want to write a book, you want to know how to write a book? Start writing. That's it. That's it. Start writing. Write a blog post. Write a story, even if nobody recognizes it. But I think the key where, you guys, is everyone gets stuck on getting started and they have fear that holds them back. They have all these different doubts, fears, narratives, beliefs, identity, hey, I've never done this before. And that's where they get stuck. And if you could just start, everything seems to fall into place after that.
It's incredible. Just get started and you will see. I know a lot of people are trying to pivot right now, given what's happening with the economy. Things are changing very fast. And what you have described there could help a lot of people get on the track and really begin to get the result they want. I want to talk about something that you truly believe in, and that is letting go of your emotional attachment. Do lead us in that one for a moment.
All right, we've all experienced this one.
Yeah.
Let's say, for example, your classic example would be you're driving to work. It's 7:48. You were supposed to be on the road at 7:30. You're already 18 minutes late, and you either hit traffic or worse, someone cuts you off. Now, all of a sudden, what happens? You have an emotional response to that. You have an emotional reaction. And so that emotional reaction might be frustration, anger. The world is happening to you. And all of a sudden, this one event now has an emotional charge to it. It's almost like placing an emotional value on something. And so now all of a sudden, you have a reaction, and that reaction is felt within your body, right? But here's where the problem is. People say, okay, well, that's natural. That's normal. Like, how is that a problem? Well, the problem is, how long are you going to let that emotion sit with you? So to feel emotions is fine. If you feel angry, don't resist it. Let it in. Feel the anger, feel the frustration. I don't ever suppress or push back emotions. I let them in. I let them in, but the difference is I say, okay, you're here. I focus my energy, attention, and thoughts in a way that invited you in. So that's my responsibility. I know you're here, but I don't really feel like this is serving me, and I appreciate you stopping by, but here's the door. So always want to think about flow, almost like a Bruce Lee thing, is you want to have things flow through you as opposed to resist them, because what you resist persists. So if you say, oh my God, this should not have happened, I'm so angry, the more angry you get, the easier it is to be angry. And the easier it is to think angry things and say angry things. And all of a sudden your heart rate gets up, you're releasing cortisol. And then all of a sudden your wife calls and she wants to just tell you that she's going to stop by and drop off your lunch. And instead you're just like, hey, listen, I don't want lunch. Okay. Love you too. Click, And
right.
so, there are some consequences to staying in an emotional state. And so what I always like to do when I say letting go is you want to be aware of the emotion, feel it, but then ask yourself, put an appraisal on it, right? And this is a way to kind of disconnect from the emotion, is you appraise it, literally give it a dollar value. And to me, it's fun, is I say, okay, what is the emotional value of this incident? I'm 18 minutes late, but yet I own the business. Okay, so it kind of doesn't matter. I'm late because I made a poor decision. It's on me that I'm in this situation. I can't blame anyone else but myself. What is the value that I have on this emotion? And a lot of times what you'll do is you'll realize you initially put a value of, let's say, $1,000 on it, But once you go back, if you can reappraise it, I call it reappraisal. You go back and you say, you know what? I gave it a value of $1,000, but I'm going to reappraise it. I'm going to give it a value of $12.
That's right.
In your mind, what happens is very interesting. Instead of you thinking of that incident being this big, the $1,000, you kind of visually shrink it down to that 12, and then it's easier to let go from it. So you always want to experience emotions, but then challenge yourself to decrease the amount of time you feel them if they're ones that don't serve you. And then you let them go through either reappraisal or just saying kindly, like, thank you, great for the experience. And that's it.
Love that. This is turning out to be a masterclass, Jay. Truly love what you're sharing. One of the things I find a lot of people struggle with is letting go of emotions, following like a major event, say, for example, death. And you have an interesting experience when you lost your dad not too long ago. You went through a difficult time. Would you share that experience? I think it will tie nicely in what you are explaining here.
Yeah, and I want to start off by saying that more people should talk about death because it's a subject that everyone fears, but it's the only thing in life that's a guarantee. And so it's something that we all fear, and there's so much value in it. So I'm definitely going to respond to your question. And I want to add something that was an experience I had yesterday that I think will offer all of you some value as well. So my dad passed away a couple of years ago, and it was the first parent I lost. And I struggled with it a little bit more than I thought. And so I won't go into why and all, some of the circumstances behind it and stuff like that, surgery that didn't go well. And either way, bottom line is, I realized that one of the most powerful ways to manage the emotional attachment and the emotional response to things is not to resist it, but to accept it. And so where most of my struggles had happened for the first couple months is I was resistant to it. I was fighting against it. This shouldn't have happened. This wasn't fair. I was pushing back from reality. And so what I did is I said, wait a minute, you're a mindset coach. Maybe you should start coaching yourself. And so I started coaching myself, and I said, what action can I take to shift my energy, focus, and attention, or my perspective, and reframe this in a way that I don't have the emotional response I have? Because don't forget, the meaning you place on things is what gives you the emotion, right? These emotions don't just come out of nowhere. They are based on the meaning you give things. So the meaning I gave my father's death was doctors are bad. They don't care about patients. This is unfair. Medicare. Yeah, I mean, God knows how many. I can't even remember all the things I had. They started almost spiraling out of control to the point where they weren't even sensible. And so I stopped and I said, all right, let's change my perspective. I said, okay, what perspective do you want? I'm like, oh, geez, I'm not sure. I said, sit with it and figure it out. You're not sure because you haven't sat with it and figured it out. So maybe you should sit with it and figure it out. And so that's what I did. And so in doing so, I said, all of a sudden, it came actually relatively quick, probably within like 5 minutes. And I said, oh my. I said, when my parents made sweet love to each other, and I was the result of that, 50% of me is my mom, 50% is my dad, right? Essentially. And I said, wait a minute. If that is true, which I believe it is, then half of me is my father, which means he's alive. Half of him is alive within me. And so, whether you believe that or not, that's your choice, right? And so I chose to believe that, and I thought it was interesting. I thought it was fun. And what happened next was I felt alive. I felt he was alive. And I felt like I had this opportunity, because I felt like he hadn't lived, like he could have lived a little bit longer and experienced a little bit more. So now I said, wait a minute, why don't you give him that experience? Why don't you live a little bit more, right? And it wasn't even so much me thinking, up in heaven kind of thing, him looking down, being proud. It wasn't even that. It was a little bit, I felt like I embodied him more. Like I felt like half of me is him, like physically half of me is him. I'm like, whoa, this is great. And so I started working out a little more often. I started visiting places that I've always wanted to go. I started doing things I've always wanted to do. And in that experience, truly shifted my perspective, shifted my emotions, and it really ignited a whole stream of things that happened after. And, one other thing I just want to add real quick, and I'll give you a quick version of this. Yesterday, I was on a walk. I was listening to a podcast because I like podcasts, as does everyone here, right? And
surprise.
Yeah, surprise. And anyway, so I'm listening to the podcast, and the gentleman that was speaking, Anthony DeMello, or Mello, either way, amazing guy. So he's speaking, and he says, and it resonated with me so strong because I always believed this, but I was glad that he heightened it in the front of my mind, is one of the best ways to appreciate life and feel alive, and to feel a sense of urgency to like get things done, is to actually face death. And so I was like, wow, you know what? The more I realize I'm going to die, the more I'm excited to be alive, right? And the more I want to take my next step. And so as I'm on this 2.5-hour walk, I'm looking at the tree to my left. I'm looking at the house to my right. It's just a house, but I'm not seeing it like that anymore because my mind has shifted. I'm like, I get to look at this house. Ooh, I get to look at this tree. I get to, and you start to appreciate the little things. And that's what that experience had for me. So I think more of us need to lean towards death instead of fear it and pull away.
I love that. When you appreciate things around you, things changes, you enjoy it more. And I love that. You know what, Jay, we're coming toward the end of our time together, and I would love it for people to carry on learning. In fact, I was on your website before we jump on here. You've got a special training where you cover all these secrets in greater detail. I'd love for you to share with my audience how they can reach out to you, or even perhaps learn further from you.
Yeah, so my business is officially called, I have a couple, but the main one that would be relative to, I think, your demographic and our listeners would be the Vibe Mindset. So VIB Mindset, the Vibe. That's all about like just the energy and the frequency that you're emitting. And a lot of it applies to mindset. It's a lot of it is stuff that entrepreneurs tend to enjoy. And if you go to the vibemindset.com, you can find many resources there. We've got an email list. We have a membership community where you can become a part of that. And if you want to see this studio in action, we have a YouTube channel. The YouTube channel is the same, the Vibe Mindset. And would love to even just hear from you guys. Even if you have any feedback, or you want to say that Yukai looks better on camera than I do, that's fine. Send me a message. I would love to hear from you.
That's awesome. Well, my friend, thank you so much for joining us. I never want to leave our audience without them knowing something special about you. If you were to do this whole journey of mindset shift all over again, perhaps what would you do to make it go faster, for you to get to where you are much quicker?
The key to making it go faster is very simple. Just stop. Stop. All we do is go, 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 right? We never stop. Just stop, go outside, find a cloudy day, go outside, lay on your back, no technology, and just stop. If you just stop, things happen fast. You start to be like, oh, wow, and you start to find what's important. You watch a couple clouds go by, you listen to a couple birds, you look at the trees move in the wind. Just stop. All of us are so addicted to being ourselves and moving, and it's a constant movement. Focus on this, focus on that. Expend energy here, and here. Just stop. Just stop.
We would love to have you back, talk about just stop, because I truly believe in that as well. Jay, this has been tremendous, and we certainly would love to have you back sometime in future with time permitting. And thanks again for being here.
Yeah, thanks so much for your time, and everyone listening. Thank you so much. Appreciate the gift of your time as well.
That's awesome. There you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Dr. Jay Cavanaugh here sharing with you the winning mindset for entrepreneurs. As you know, we've covered some important ground there. And if you want to learn more, there will be a link below this recording where you can actually go straight to his website to learn more. With that said, I want to leave you with these words. We always do. Live well, live with passion, and truly know that the best is yet to come. Goodbye for now.
Thank you for listening to Yukai Business Show. We will be back to bring you more episodes with success stories and advice straight from the experts. Want more? Check out www.yukaibusinessshow.com. Get your free trial of our virtual assistant service today. Just visit www.worldoutsourcingsolutions.com. Quote WOS18 or send us an email at support@worldoutsourcingsolutions.com.